The signs are there in how you respond to silence, in what no longer satisfies you, in the way you've begun to sense layers of reality others can't see. Your readiness isn't something you decide, it's something you become. In this video, we'll trace how that inner becoming unfolds step by step. But first, you need to understand that this transformation rarely begins where you'd expect. Spiritual readiness doesn't announce itself with peace and light. It begins with an ache, that restless feeling when the explanations that once satisfied you now feel paper-thin. You sit through conversations about manifest destiny or positive thinking, and something inside you recoils not from judgment, but from recognition that these answers no longer touch the depth of what you're experiencing. The discomfort isn't pleasant, but it's necessary. Your consciousness has outgrown its old containers. The mind that once gladly accepted simple cause and effect relationships suddenly demands deeper understanding. You find yourself asking why gratitude works, not just how to practice it. Why some people seem naturally aligned while others struggle endlessly. Why certain experiences feel sacred while others feel empty, even when they should theoretically bring joy. This isn't intellectual curiosity. This is your awareness, demanding access to something more fundamental. Your old belief systems start feeling like clothes that no longer fit. Like a snake shedding skin, the process feels uncomfortable because you're literally outgrowing the structures that once contained your awareness. The spiritual concepts that once excited you now feel restrictive, almost insulting to your intelligence. You might have been drawn to the law of attraction, but now you sense there are forces at play that make simple visualization seem childish. Prayer used to bring comfort, but now feels like you're talking to yourself. These frameworks haven't become wrong, they've become insufficient for what you're ready to understand. This dissatisfaction signals expansion, not failure. Your consciousness has grown beyond the boundaries of its previous understanding, and it's rejecting anything that asks it to shrink back down. The frustration you feel with surface-level answers is your inner wisdom refusing to settle for partial truths. The seeking mind undergoes a fundamental transformation during this phase. Instead of wanting quick fixes and immediate relief, you begin demanding authentic understanding, even if it takes longer and requires more of you. You stop looking for techniques that bypass inner work and start gravitating toward approaches that ask you to face yourself completely. This shift from wanting comfort to wanting truth marks a crucial transition in spiritual maturity. The hunger you feel isn't intellectual curiosity, it's soul-level starvation. Intellectual curiosity can be satisfied with concepts and theories, but soul hunger demands direct experience and embodied knowing. You might read the same spiritual text you've read dozens of times and suddenly feel frustrated because you sense there's meaning between the lines that you can't quite grasp. Your awareness has developed the capacity to perceive depths it can't yet access. This phase often feels isolating because you outgrow conversations that once engaged you. Friends might share spiritual memes that feel hollow or discuss manifestation techniques that seem to miss the point entirely. You're not becoming judgmental. You're becoming sensitive to the difference between spiritual entertainment and spiritual truth. Social gatherings that center around surface-level spiritual topics leave you feeling more alone than before you arrived. Forcing yourself back into old patterns of thinking creates internal friction because your consciousness has genuinely evolved past them. The friction isn't resistance, it's incompatibility. Your awareness has developed new capacities that make previous explanations feel not just inadequate, but almost offensive to your intelligence. The void you feel can't be filled by external sources because it's calling you inward. Research shows that true transformation follows inner integration rather than external technique. No book, course, or teacher can satisfy this particular hunger, because what you're seeking can only be found through direct inner knowing. When nothing outside can touch the depth of what you're experiencing, something profound begins to happen within the quality of your inner space itself starts to change. This transformation reveals itself most clearly in how you relate to stillness. There's a difference between sitting in forced meditation, counting breaths, and the natural quieting that happens when your consciousness is genuinely preparing for something deeper. Forced stillness feels like holding your breath underwater. Eventually you have to surface, gasping for relief. But the stillness that signals readiness feels like finally exhaling after holding tension you didn't know you were carrying. This isn't about perfecting a technique, it's about your system naturally settling into a different frequency. True stillness has nothing to do with stopping thoughts. Your mind will continue its commentary, but your relationship with that commentary shifts completely. Instead of being swept away by each mental current, you begin to notice the space between thoughts, the pause that exists before reactions form. This space isn't empty, it's alive with potential. You might catch a subtle download of clarity in that pause, like reading a familiar text for the first time. You're not fighting your thinking mind, you're developing the capacity to observe it without being consumed by it. The quality of silence that emerges during spiritual preparation has weight and texture. It's not the hollow quiet of an empty room, but the pregnant silence before dawn when everything feels poised on the edge of transformation. This silence carries information. You begin to sense currents of energy and meaning that were always present but drowned out by the constant chatter of an unquiet mind. The silence becomes a listening device tuned to frequencies you couldn't access before. Within this stillness, subtle perceptions arise that mental noise used to obliterate. You start noticing the emotional undertones in conversations that others miss. Patterns in your daily life become visible that were previously invisible. Dreams carry more significance, and waking moments feel charged with potential meaning. These aren't mystical experiences. They're natural capacities that emerge when the interference of mental turbulence decreases. The shift from restless seeking to patient receptivity marks a fundamental change in spiritual maturity. Restless seeking feels urgent, desperate, almost frantic in its need for answers and experiences. Patient receptivity feels like becoming a clear lake that reflects whatever appears without trying to capture or control it. You stop chasing insights and start creating conditions where insights can emerge naturally. This receptivity doesn't mean passive waiting. It means active openness. This inner quiet attracts synchronicities, like a magnet draws metal filings. Events begin aligning in ways that feel too perfectly timed to be coincidental. The right conversation happens exactly when you need to hear it. Resources appear just as you're ready to receive them. People enter your life carrying precisely the information or support you've been seeking. These alignments aren't magical interventions. They're the matrix mirroring your inner frequency, natural responses to your changed inner state. Your relationship with stimulation undergoes a complete reversal. Where you once needed constant input to feel engaged and alive, you begin craving the richness that emerges from sustained quiet. Entertainment that used to captivate you starts feeling hollow and agitating. Conversations that once seemed interesting now feel like noise pollution. This isn't withdrawal from life, it's attunement to a deeper level of aliveness that stimulation actually obscures. The moment silence becomes more nourishing than any external experience, you know your consciousness is preparing for expansion. You're discovering the fullness that was always present beneath the surface noise. This fullness doesn't need entertainment because it contains its own source of richness. When you reach this point, transformation isn't something you're waiting for, it's something that's already begun. But this inner shift reveals something unexpected about the very nature of seeking itself. Spiritual readiness demands releasing the compulsion to collect enlightenment experiences like badges of honor. You stop viewing meditation breakthroughs or mystical moments as achievements to display and start recognizing them as natural byproducts of inner alignment. The ego loves to catalog these experiences, creating an internal resume of spiritual accomplishments. But research shows that cataloging spiritual experiences creates a barrier like trying to capture water in your fist. When you find yourself mentally filing away profound moments for later reference, you're operating from the collector mindset rather than the participant mindset. The shift from wanting to be spiritually special to simply wanting to understand reality marks a fundamental transition in consciousness. The ego craves uniqueness. It wants to be chosen, selected for extraordinary experiences that prove its worthiness. But genuine spiritual hunger feels different. It seeks truth, regardless of whether that truth makes you feel important or ordinary. This hunger doesn't care about being impressive, it cares about being accurate. When you catch yourself hoping others will notice your spiritual insights, you're still operating from the recognition-seeking mind. Ego-driven seeking creates its own obstacles because it approaches spirituality with the same acquisition mentality it uses for material possessions. The ego wants to own experiences, control timing and guarantee outcomes, but spiritual development operates according to different principles entirely. The very intensity of wanting blocks the receptivity required for genuine transformation to occur naturally. Spiritual materialism transforms inner development into external performance. You begin measuring progress by how many workshops you've attended, how many teachers you've studied with, or how many techniques you've mastered. The focus shifts from internal transformation to external accumulation, treating consciousness expansion like a competitive field where more equals better and faster equals superior. True readiness involves abandoning all timelines and expectations about when awakening should happen. The ego creates deadlines for enlightenment as if consciousness operates according to quarterly business objectives. But spiritual development unfolds according to readiness, not schedules, and readiness can't be forced, manufactured, or purchased. When you stop checking your progress against imaginary timelines, you create space for authentic development to emerge at its own pace. The paradox becomes clear when you observe how spiritual experiences arise more frequently after you stop grasping for them. Like a shy animal that approaches when you're not looking directly at it, profound realizations emerge when your attention is focused on presence rather than acquisition. The moment you release the desperate need for transcendent experiences, they begin appearing naturally as byproducts of your shifted relationship to seeking itself. Releasing the need to prove your spiritual advancement actually accelerates genuine progress, because energy previously spent on performance gets redirected toward authentic inner work. The effort you use to invest in appearing spiritually sophisticated becomes available for the unglamorous work of facing your shadows, integrating your contradictions, and developing emotional maturity. Comparing your spiritual journey to others becomes completely irrelevant when you're truly ready, because you recognize that consciousness develops uniquely in each individual. The ego loves ranking systems, but mature spiritual development recognizes that comparison itself indicates you're still operating from the competitive mindset that blocks authentic growth. Humility and not knowing transform from embarrassing limitations into gateways for deeper understanding. The ego fears admitting ignorance because it equates not knowing with inadequacy, but spiritual maturity recognizes not knowing as fertile ground where new insights can take root. Imagine feeling content in a simple coffee shop, no one recognizing your inner journey, yet you feel completely whole. The ultimate indicator of approaching readiness arrives when you can be completely ordinary, completely unknown in spiritual circles, and feel deeply fulfilled. When being nobody special feels like coming home rather than settling for less, you've moved beyond ego-driven seeking into territory where something profound awaits your full attention. What emerges in this territory is a complete revolution in how you relate to the present moment. The shift from hunting for more spiritual information to inhabiting the awareness you already possess changes everything. Knowledge becomes secondary to presence, not because understanding isn't valuable, but because presence contains understanding in a way that concepts never could. Research shows that healers who valued direct experience over scholarly learning developed deeper capacities than those who remained focused on accumulating information. You find yourself less interested in reading about enlightenment and more drawn to simply sitting with what's happening right now. Present moment awareness develops a richness that makes accumulating spiritual knowledge feel like collecting photographs of food when you could be tasting the actual meal. The difference becomes stark once you experience it. Reading about consciousness expansion feels flat compared to the aliveness that emerges when you're fully here. Your priorities shift from wanting to understand presence conceptually to wanting to live from presence consistently. Information becomes useful only insofar as it supports your capacity to be present. The quality of presence that signals readiness for deeper truths has a particular texture. It's alert without being tense, receptive without being passive. This isn't the drowsy relaxation of someone checking out from reality, but the heightened awareness of someone tuning into reality more completely. Your senses become sharper, emotions feel cleaner, and thoughts arise with more clarity. You're not spacing out, you're spacing into dimensions of experience that distraction normally obscures. Within this presence, the boundaries between observer and observed begin to soften naturally. You feel the line between you and your surroundings blur, as if you're part of the breeze rustling through trees. You stop experiencing life as something happening to you and start recognizing yourself as inseparable from the flow of experience itself. The wall between inner and outer reality becomes permeable. This dissolution isn't frightening because it doesn't feel like losing yourself. It feels like finding what you actually are beneath all the mental constructions of separate selfhood. Most people think about presence the way they think about any other concept, turning it into another piece of spiritual knowledge to file away. But thinking about presence and being present operate from completely different modes of consciousness. Thinking about it keeps you in your head, analyzing and comparing, while being present drops you into immediate sensory and energetic awareness. The shift from thinking presence to being presence marks the difference between spiritual theory and spiritual reality. Ordinary moments transform into revelation when filtered through genuine presence. Washing dishes becomes meditation. Conversations with strangers carry unexpected depth. The way light hits a wall at a particular time of day stops you in your tracks with beauty you never noticed before. These aren't special mystical experiences. They're natural perceptions that become available when you're actually here, instead of mentally elsewhere, rehearsing the past or planning the future. This embodied awareness functions like a tuning fork that resonates with teachings and teachers operating at your frequency. You stop attracting spiritual entertainment and start encountering genuine wisdom. People who can guide your development appear naturally in your life, while those offering shallow insights fade into the background. Your presence calls forth what matches your readiness level without any effort on your part to seek or attract it. The revolutionary moment arrives when being completely present feels more compelling than being anywhere else physically or mentally. You stop wanting to escape this moment for a better one. Stop postponing satisfaction until conditions improve. Stop believing that fulfillment exists somewhere other than here. When presence becomes more attractive than distraction, transformation isn't approaching anymore. It's actively reshaping your reality from the inside out. But something even more remarkable begins to emerge from this depth of presence, something that operates beyond the reach of logical analysis. Have you ever walked away from a perfect plan because something inside nudged you? That internal navigation system awakens as spiritual readiness deepens. This isn't intuition as most people understand it, those fleeting gut feelings that come and go. Research shows that consciousness develops the ability to resonate with its own frequency, creating a knowing that emerges from your core and guides you with unwavering certainty. You stop needing to weigh pros and cons because something inside you already knows the answer before your mind begins calculating. This internal compass whispers directions with such clarity that following becomes as natural as breathing. As consciousness matures, this inner guidance strengthens and becomes remarkably reliable. What starts as occasional hunches develops into consistent inner knowing. You begin to sense which conversations will nourish you and which will drain your energy before they even begin. Opportunities that look perfect on paper feel wrong in your body, while seemingly random encounters carry the unmistakable resonance of rightness. This isn't wishful thinking. This is your awareness developing sensitivity to frequencies that logical reasoning can't detect. This compass actively guides you toward experiences and people that support your awakening, often in ways that seem illogical from the outside. You might feel drawn to cancel plans that everyone expects you to enjoy, only to discover that staying home led to a crucial realization. A book falls off a shelf and lands open to exactly the passage you needed to read. Someone calls you unexpectedly with information that answers a question you hadn't even asked aloud yet. These aren't coincidences, they're your inner guidance orchestrating your development. The difference between wishful thinking and genuine inner knowing becomes crystal clear through experience. Wishful thinking carries the energy of want. It hopes for specific outcomes and fears disappointment. Genuine inner knowing feels neutral, almost matter-of-fact in its certainty. It doesn't hope for particular results, it simply recognizes what is. Wishful thinking creates anxiety, while authentic knowing brings peace, even when it guides you toward difficult choices. Trusting this internal guidance transforms from forced faith into natural response when you're truly ready. You stop second-guessing every intuitive hit because you've seen too many times how this inner wisdom proves itself correct. The voice that once seemed uncertain and unreliable becomes your most trusted advisor. Following its direction feels as automatic as pulling your hand away from a hot stove. You don't debate whether to trust the sensation, you simply respond. This compass reveals itself as remarkably skilled at distinguishing authentic spiritual teachings from entertainment designed to keep you seeking without finding. Popular spiritual content that once excited you starts feeling hollow, while obscure materials that speak directly to your current development appear effortlessly in your awareness. You develop an almost allergic reaction to spiritual bypassing and surface-level positivity, while gravitating toward teachings that ask you to face yourself completely. Following your inner compass frequently leads you away from trending spiritual movements and toward paths that serve your specific development needs. While others chase the latest spiritual technique, you find yourself drawn to practices that feel ancient and personal. Your guidance doesn't care about what's popular. It cares about what will actually transform your consciousness. When your inner knowing feels more reliable than any external authority, you've crossed a threshold into genuine spiritual maturity. Teachers, books, and gurus become resources rather than authorities. You consult them for perspective, but your final decisions emerge from inner consultation. External guidance supports your journey, but your internal compass determines your direction. Yet this inner clarity depends entirely on something most people overlook: the foundation that determines whether consciousness can handle what it discovers. That foundation is emotional maturity, the capacity to feel deeply without fragmenting under the weight of what you discover. Most people approach spirituality hoping to transcend their emotional landscape, but readiness requires the opposite: complete integration with your feeling nature. When fear flares, notice where it tightens in your chest. This sensation tells you how much truth you're ready to hold. Unprocessed emotions create distortions that warp spiritual insights into ego-serving delusions. Specific emotional states either open doorways to deeper understanding or slam them shut with remarkable consistency. Curiosity without attachment creates receptivity, while desperate seeking creates barriers. Genuine humility allows wisdom to enter, while spiritual pride blocks it completely. Peace rooted in acceptance invites revelation, while peace maintained through avoidance prevents authentic growth. The difference isn't subtle once you learn to recognize these internal atmospheres and their effects on your spiritual development. Processing difficult emotions transforms from spiritual obstacle into spiritual gateway when you understand their true function. Every challenging feeling carries information about unconscious patterns that limit your awareness. Anger reveals where you feel powerless, pointing to situations where you've given your authority away. Fear shows where trust is blocked, highlighting areas where you resist life's natural intelligence. Sadness highlights attachments that weigh you down, revealing what you're clinging to that prevents forward movement. Instead of viewing these emotions as problems to solve, you begin experiencing them as messengers, delivering crucial intelligence about your inner landscape. Emotional reactivity operates from unconscious programming, while emotional intelligence responds from conscious choice. Reactivity happens automatically triggered by external circumstances beyond your control. Intelligence pauses between stimulus and response, creating space for wisdom to inform your actions. Reactive people get swept away by their emotional weather, while emotionally intelligent people feel the weather fully but maintain their center throughout the storm. This capacity to feel without being overwhelmed marks crucial spiritual development. Readiness involves experiencing emotions with complete intensity while maintaining your essential stability. You don't suppress feelings or get lost in them. You become the spacious awareness within which emotions arise and dissolve. You feel grief completely, but grief doesn't become your identity. You experience anger fully, but anger doesn't drive your decisions. Emotions flow through you like weather patterns through an open sky. Certain emotional patterns dissolve naturally as consciousness expands because they simply can't survive in higher frequencies of awareness. Chronic resentment evaporates when you truly understand that everyone operates from their current level of consciousness. Persistent anxiety diminishes when you develop genuine trust in life's intelligence. Compulsive people-pleasing fades when you recognize your inherent worth doesn't depend on external approval. These shifts happen automatically, not through forced positive thinking, but through genuine expansion of perspective. Emotional healing consistently precedes major spiritual breakthroughs because unhealed wounds create energetic contractions that block the flow of higher awareness. Research shows that pain digested becomes wisdom. The transformation of suffering into understanding creates the internal space necessary for deeper truths to emerge. You might have profound mystical experiences, but if underlying emotional patterns remain untouched, the insights won't integrate into lasting transformation. Emotional readiness grants you the capacity to hold paradox and uncertainty with grace instead of collapsing into confusion or forcing premature resolution. You can simultaneously feel grateful for your journey while acknowledging its difficulties. You can love someone deeply while recognizing they're not good for you. You can feel peaceful about outcomes while taking inspired action toward goals. This ability to hold contradictions without fracturing indicates sophisticated emotional development. When you can feel the full spectrum of human emotion without losing connection to your essential center, you've developed the emotional capacity required for profound spiritual transformation. Your feelings become allies rather than enemies, guides rather than obstacles. You're no longer afraid of your own emotional depth because you've learned to navigate it skillfully. This emotional fearlessness creates the internal conditions where something remarkable begins to unfold naturally rather than through force. What emerges from this foundation is the art of cultivating receptivity, the shift from aggressive seeking to gentle preparation. Consciousness responds to invitation rather than demand. You create the conditions where wisdom naturally seeks you out instead of chasing it like a desperate hunter. Receptivity grows through attitudes rather than techniques. You can meditate for hours, but if you approach practice with grasping energy, you create resistance to the experiences you're seeking. Research shows that wonder opens consciousness, while determination often creates contraction. A curious mind discovers possibilities, while a determined mind demands predetermined outcomes. The daily habits that create fertile ground look deceptively simple, but transform your entire inner landscape through accumulation. Starting each morning with 5 minutes of silence before checking your phone trains your system to prioritize inner awareness over external stimulation. Taking walks without podcasts or music allows natural intuition to surface. These small choices compound over time, creating an environment where subtle perceptions flourish. Releasing control paradoxically increases your influence over spiritual development because it aligns you with how consciousness actually operates. When you stop trying to force specific experiences and start creating optimal conditions for whatever wants to emerge, you become a partner in your awakening rather than its demanding manager. Control attempts to direct the river, while receptivity learns to navigate its natural flow. This doesn't mean passive waiting, it means active preparation combined with patient allowance. The difference between forcing spiritual experiences and creating conditions for natural emergence becomes obvious once you understand how consciousness works. Forcing feels like pushing against a locked door, while creating conditions feels like preparing fertile soil for seeds ready to sprout. You can't make a flower bloom faster by pulling its petals, but you can ensure optimal light, water, and nutrients. Spiritual development responds to supportive conditions rather than aggressive intervention. Simplifying your external life creates space for subtle spiritual perceptions by reducing background noise that drowns out quiet inner signals. When your schedule stays packed, your environment cluttered, and attention constantly divided, the gentle whispers of guidance get lost in chaos. Simplification isn't about becoming a monk. It's about creating enough spaciousness that you can hear what your deeper wisdom is communicating. Consistency in small practices produces more lasting transformation than dramatic spiritual efforts because it builds genuine capacity rather than temporary peak experiences. Daily 5-minute meditations create more structural change than weekend intensives you can't integrate. Small, consistent practices work like compound interest, seeming insignificant initially, but creating profound results over time. Cultivating receptivity transforms uncertainty from problem to doorway. Instead of feeling anxious when you don't have answers, you become curious about what wants to be discovered. Not knowing becomes exciting rather than embarrassing, because you recognize it as the natural state preceding genuine insight. When you become the type of person that truth actively seeks out, awakening shifts from something you struggle toward to something that flows toward you naturally. Your inner development creates magnetic quality that attracts exactly the experiences, insights, and teachers matching your readiness level. You've created internal conditions where transformation emerges as naturally as seasons change. The question becomes not whether you're ready, but whether you recognize what's already becoming transparent within you. This journey moves through distinct stages: disillusionment with surface answers, natural stillness, ego release, and embodied presence, each preparing you to become transparent enough for truth to flow through you without distortion. You stop being the seeker and become the vessel. The container that once held your old identity dissolves, leaving pure awareness that can receive and transmit whatever wants to emerge through your unique expression. If this message stirred something deep within you, the signs of readiness aren't coming, they're already here. That recognition you feel isn't hope, it's confirmation. Your consciousness has been preparing for this moment through every experience that brought you to this understanding. Drop a comment with the word ready if you felt that inner recognition we're building a community of those walking this path together. If you found clarity here, hit like to signal your readiness and subscribe for more insights on inner transformation. Awakening isn't something that happens to you. It's something you become through conscious participation in your own transformation. Remember, you're not just watching, you're becoming the vessel for deeper truths.